Good morning, my dear student. I'm Dr. Kiran Ramrao Borkar. Now today I'm going to explain about the structure and function of intestinal gland. So before the starting of intestinal gland, I just explain you the region of small intestine. Look at here. The small intestine consists of different parts. That is, upper part is called as a duodenum, and middle part of that small intestine is called as a jejunum, and lower part of the small intestine is called as a ileum. Okay, all these are the three different part of the small intestine. This intestine wall consists of different layer. That is, outer layer is that the serosa, and below the serosa there is a muscle layer, and these muscle layer consist of different layer. That is circular muscle layer and longitudinal muscle layer. Okay, and below this muscle layer there is a submucosa layer, and below the submucosa there is mucosa layer. It means that you can say that inner layer of the small intestine is that the mucosa layer. Okay, and the intestinal, look at this intestinal gland is also called as a crypts of lubricants. These glands are found throughout the small intestine, and they are simple tubular gland which opens into the space between the neighboring villi, and they contain number of different type of cell that secrete mucus and large number of enzyme. The secretion of this gland called as a succus entericus. Okay. And what is succus entericus? The succus entericus has a succus entericus has pH about 7.6 and contains some 1.6% of the solid matter, out of which about 1% are inorganic and rest all are organic. Now, you can see here the enzyme of succus entericus and their functions. Look at here. The first enzyme of succus entericus is that the erepsin. What is erepsin? It is a complex proteolytic enzyme albumoses and peptones into the amino acid. And these enzymes and the conversion of food protein begins by pepsin and trypsin. All this is the function of erepsin. Now you can see the second type of enzyme of succus entericus is that the lipase. What is lipase? It is not a strong enzyme, but it is very stable. It completes the fat digestion. Okay, now we can see here the third type of enzyme of the succus entericus is that the enteropeptidase. What is enteropeptidase? It is also called as enterokinase. And these enzymes simply activate the trypsinogen to form active trypsin. It means that you can say here this inactive form of the trypsin is that the trypsinogen. And this trypsinogen to form a active trypsin with the help of enteropeptidase. Then you can see the fourth type of the enzyme of succus entericus is that the maltase, lactase, invertase, and this invertase is also called as a sucrase. This enzyme acts on maltose, lactose, and cane sugar respectively and to form monosaccharide. Okay, it means that you can say here this enzyme activate different type of disaccharides and it get converted into the monosaccharides. Then fifth type of the enzyme of succus entericus is that the nucleases and nucleotidase. This enzyme act on nucleic acid component of nucleoprotein, finally splitting them into the corresponding purine and pyrimidine nucleotide. Now, we can see here the sixth type of the enzyme of succus entericus is there are different enzymes such as enterases, phosphatase, arginase, catalase, aminopeptidase, dipeptidase, proteinases, and, and triosinase, which act mostly on the broken own food stuffed during the passage through the epithelial cell of small intestine on their way to the blood vessels. Now, in addition to the different specialized absorptive feature, that is mucus between the, look at here, mucosa between the, look at this, mucosa between the villi is dotted with deep crevices that each leads into the tubular intestinal gland, and that tubular intestinal gland is that the Libericus gland, which is formed by cells that line the cervixes, and this produces intestinal juice, a slightly alkaline pH, that is 7.4 to 7.8, mixture of water and mucus. Each day, about 0.95 to 1.9 liters are secreted in response to the distension of small intestine or the irritating effect of the chyme on the intestinal mucosa. Now, we can see here the submucosa of the duodenum. The submucosa of the duodenum is only the site of complex mucus secreting duodenal gland. This duodenal gland is also called as a Brunner's gland, which produces a bicarbonate rich alkaline mucus that buffers the acidic chyme as it enters from the stomach. Now, you can see the different type of the cell which is present on small intestinal mucosa, and that you can see here, and we can see here the role of different type of the cell in the small intestinal mucosa, just like absorptive cell, then goblet cell, and then what is that, G cell, I cell, then Paneth cell, and K cell, M cell, and S cell. All these are the different type of the cell in the small intestinal mucosa. Okay, so you can see here the different role of this cell. Look at here. This cell type, that is absorptive, and the location of this absorptive cell is that the epithelium intestinal gland, and function of the absorptive is that digestion and absorptions of nutrient in chyme. Now, the second type of cell is that the goblet cell, which is present in epithelium and intestinal gland, and function of this goblet cell is the secretion of mucus. And third type of the cell is that the paneth. What is paneth? It is located in intestinal gland, and secretion of bactericidal enzyme lysozyme phagocytosis. Then G cell. It is also the type of cell of small intestine which is present on the intestinal gland of the duodenum. And these glands, what is the function of this gland? That is secretion of hormones, intestinal gastrin. Then I cell. I cell is that the intestinal gland of the duodenum, which is present on the intestinal gland of the duodenum, and the function of the eye cell is that secretion of hormones cholecystokinin, which stimulate release of pancreatic juice and bile. Then K cell is this cell also present in small intestinal mucosa, and it is location of this cell is that the intestinal gland. And the function of K cell, that is secretion of hormone glucose dependent insulinotropic peptides which stimulate the release of insulin. And M cell is that which is present on intestinal gland of the duodenum and jejunum. And the function of cell is that secretion of hormone motilin which accelerate gastric emptying, stimulates intestinal peristalsis, and stimulate the production of pepsin. And S cell, which is present in intestinal gland, and function of S cell is that the secretion of hormones secretin. All these are the types of cell which is located on different locations and they perform different function also. All this is about the structure and function of the intestinal gland. Thank you so much.